So thank you, Atul and the LGT team, for providing this wonderful platform to be able to talk to you. And thank you, Yogesh, for this very inspiring story that you have told us. To me, Jaipur Rugs represents what is possible. It's the perfect story when we think about our handmade artisanal sector and we say what is possible with it. And this is not just a dream. We actually have a wonderful example of an organization that has done it. That is, on one hand, reaching out to customers across the world, the most difficult but yet the most lucrative segment, which is the premium and the luxury end, and at the back end, working with artisans at a very grassroots level. So thank you, Yogesh, for that. Uh, so I'm going to tell you about my story. Okay. So I'm a quintessential tech entrepreneur. IIT, I'm Ahmedabad, worked with the Tata Administrative Service for 6 years, joined my partner Narendra Kale in co-promoting Kale Consultants back in 1986. We had this bee in the bonnet that we are going to create products, right? Software application products and sell them across the world. Of course, many twists and turns later, we actually did it. Our solution for the airline industry is a global leader. It's a category leader. More than 100 airlines use it. The company is listed. Many people remember Kale Consultants for its IPO back in 99, where it was a record oversubscription. So I exited the business in 2016. And of course, like all entrepreneurs, you start edition 2. So that is Kale Logistics. It's software for the logistics industry. A bunch of guys who are working with me, they're the executive team. So thankfully, I have the time to look at other things. Okay? So what am I doing talking about handmade and artisanal, which is like 180 degrees away, right, from technology? For this, I have to thank my wife, Shibani. She's sitting here behind. She's a designer from NID. She's the founder of a design studio called Buyer Design. They work with artisans and artists to create very contemporary art, lighting, furniture, home decor products. Some of you may have actually visited their store in Raghuvanshi Mills. So I've been watching her progress. Of course, I come from a very different technology and finance, so very little to contribute to her business, but very interested in what they were doing. And one of the things that has left a great impression on me is actually some of the visits to the artisan centers that you do. And you go to a village, you see artisans, families working with their hands, using some very traditional methods, and creating really amazing products. And then when you talk to them and you see their pride in what they do and how they have learned their skills and what it means to them, you realize it's not just a livelihood. Okay, of course, livelihood and supplemental income is really important, but it's something more. It actually gives them meaning in their lives. It empowers them at a very different level. And of course, Yogesh talked about it. And a visit to Jaipur Rugs villages, let me tell you, it will be very life-changing experience for you. Inspiring and yet humbling. So anyway, that's what was my introduction to this whole area. But I didn't know how to connect with it. And then during COVID, there was a very large group of people working in the industry that came together. And there were a lot of conversations about the industry as a whole. So that's when a few things caught my attention and sort of lodged in my brain somewhere. The first thing is that it's a really important sector for India. Anywhere from 10 million to 100 million artisans work in this sector today. Okay? The big range of estimates just shows, how we are lacking the statistics around how many people are looking and working in this sector. So that's the first thing that really came to me. The second thing that came to me is that, this sector should be vibrant, right? We have artisanal skills that no other country has. And at a price point, at a cost which is far lower than any other country. This is like the tech industry, right? It's Indian engineering talent and the price point at which it's available that gives us our comparative advantage. The same advantage exists in this industry. So why is it not growing, thriving? Why are we not seeing, when you go to an international exhibition, why are we not seeing, you see Jaipur rugs and you feel so proud. Why are we not seeing 20 exhibitors out there? Okay? And I felt that this is something that we should dig a little deeper. And so I roped in two of my colleagues, Vinayak, Kamath, and Shefali, Chhachhi. They're here in the room. And they got very excited and motivated by this mission. And so we said, let's do some research. So we spoke to a lot of entrepreneurs. Okay? And we said, well, what's really holding you back? Why are you not able to grow? Why are you not, why are you at this margin of existence, right? Which is little out there, but not up there. And the number one reason that came back very clearly is the lack of capital. Okay? Particularly risk capital. Because yes, loans and all are fine, but if you're building a brand, if you're investing in a team, if you're investing in marketing and design intervention, you really require, right, that capital that will give you a push. And that capital is not available to them. Startup India has impacted so many different fields, right? Technology. And again, I keep referring back to the technology sector because I've seen the difference it's made from the time when we started, when there was no venture capital available, to today. Today, if you are, every young person's dream is to have a tech startup. And he will have people to help him along the way. It might be accelerators, it might be incubators, seed capital, different, the whole system is there supportive, believing in that. And that has unleashed so much entrepreneurial energy. Not just, it started in the tech sector, but you have seen it grow into agri-tech, fintech, edtech, etc., etc. So the thought was, why not bring this energy and focus it around this sector, right? So we said, fine, that sounds very interesting, but is there a market? What is the size of that, right? So again, we did some research, and the global handicraft market is about $650 billion. India has all of 1.6% market share. 1.6%. Don't you think we deserve more? And this market is growing at an 11% CAGR. So by 2030, it's expected, to reach about $1.5 trillion. If in this time frame, if over the next 10 years, if you are able to take just 1.6% and take it to, let's say, 3%, we'd have generated a $45 billion industry. And the corollary to this is that you will generate 10 million jobs at least. And all of us these days, we know, right? We are hearing about our GDP growth, India shining, how we'll reach that third largest economy, etc., etc. But at the heart of it, we know that our biggest challenge is actually jobs. And jobs that don't involve migration. Jobs that empower women. Jobs that give you dignity. And this is what the sector is all about. So we said, all right, since capital is the number one gap, can we set up a venture fund focused around this industry? It doesn't have a name, right? Artisan, handicraft, it doesn't sort of capture the essence of this industry. So we gave it a name, creative, cultural, and circular, the 3C sector. And if you think about it, if you look at Jaipur rugs, they're actually at where all three meet. Creative energies, cultural, because weaving is our tradition, and of course circular, because they're using natural material, right? And very sustainable processes in the manufacture, right? So the 3C sector, that's the sector that we have called it. So our hypothesis was, let's create a venture fund focused on this sector. Why focused? Because in the past, while venture funds have invested piecemeal here and there is nobody who is focused in this sector to understand it at a deeper level, right? And that understanding is really important if you want to add value to your investee companies. So with that, and with Shefali and Vinayak, very committed to this whole mission, we said, well, the only way to figure out is to roll up our sleeves and dive straight in. So over the last 18 months, we have made 5 investments from my personal money, about 32 crores. The check that we have written is usually somewhere between 3 crores and 12 crores. And that's been a huge learning experience for us. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the investments that we have made, just to give you a flavor of the type of opportunities that are there. So one investment that we have made is in a US headquartered fund. It's called Design Technology Services. In many senses, a technology play focused around this industry. What it does is that it allows interior designers to get access to catalogs of all manufacturers of furniture and home decor items, browse through them, create a shortlisted catalog that they can give to their customers. And once the customer approves, then they can place a single order for everything that they need. And DTS in turn will take care of all the back end of shipment, of delivery, all of that stuff. So it's of course great use to interior decorators and designers because it saves them time, helps them to get access to a lot more products than they would otherwise have access to. And of course, they get the material at wholesale prices. So it's very good economics for DTS. So that's one investment. At the other end of the spectrum, we have made an investment in an organization called Kadam Hearth. What does Kadam Hearth do? They actually do basketry products. Products made out of natural grasses, water hyacinth fiber, banana fiber, bamboo, etc. And they create home accessories, shopping, bags for women, etc., etc., and sell them to customers both in India and now increasingly across the world. Kadam Hearth has a sister organization called Kadam, which is an NGO, right, which works with villagers and trains them up on how to create these basketry products. So capacity building. So this combination of Kadam Hearth focused on design and marketing and Kadam focused on the supply chain and just creating capability for artisans is a very interesting sort of business model. And in fact, there are many NGOs in India who have been doing a lot of capacity building for artisans in their region, but they really haven't focused around marketing and sales. So maybe this is a model that could get repeated in other areas as well. So that is now our second investment. Our third investment is in a company called Relove. It's actually a tech play. It allows brands to resell their pre-loved clothes to other customers. It's circularity in action. Okay? The fourth, and certainly not the least, is Shobhitam. And the Shobhitam founders are here with us today. Aparna and Raghu Tyagarajan. So they will tell their story. But we are very happy to be investors in it. We have seen, they're completely on track with their business plan, and we are really excited about their future. I'm giving you these examples because this is representative of what is available in this industry. There are producer organizations, there are enablers, there are tech companies, there are marketplaces. You can think about cultural tourism, you can think about Indic wellness. So the space of creative, cultural, and circular really enables you to look at very interesting examples. Okay, so what were some of our learnings? The first thing is that there are actually some very interesting entrepreneurs out there. Okay, so to come to our 5 investments, we actually spoke to about 140 companies and met a lot of entrepreneurs, right? So the first thing is that there are many interesting entrepreneurs, many of them coming in from technology backgrounds, finance backgrounds, because they see a business opportunity, teaming up with designers. And that's really, really interesting and validated our thesis that this is probably the right time for something like this. The second learning that we had was that the entrepreneurial is the fulcrum point, right? If we want to reinvent this industry, if we want to think about and make it relevant for the next, few decades, we will have to take a very outside-in approach. What does the customer want? What is he willing to pay for? How do we assure that quality? How do we access that customer? Okay, and that is the whole piece which entrepreneurs love to solve, right? That's what they love to do. So I think it's around entrepreneurs that need to be the fulcrum point. So that was our second learning. And third, of course, is that, this lack of capital, right? Today, it's not available. But there are people who are talking the same thing that we are talking. So you're beginning to see angel networks, you're beginning to see some accelerators. Jaipur Rugs Foundation runs a mentorship program, Hand for Handmade runs a mentorship program. So the thinking around this is gathering steam. Because really what you need is an ecosystem focused around this, right? So I can say, I think it's about 2 years since the whole sector sort of really caught my interest. And after research and actually sort of delving in deep, I have a very strong conviction that this sector, requires this type of availability of finance, that companies can be profitable, can grow, that social impact will happen naturally, because as Yogesh mentioned, what's good for their artisans is good for the business, right? And so this is how we are launching this fund. I must tell you a little bit about my co-founders. So Shefali and Vinayak are both from Jamnalal Bajaj. Shefali is a marketeer and a brand builder. She's worked with a lot of multinationals, right from their startup to scale-up phases. Vinayak has taken on many operational roles, and we actually worked together in Kale Consultants for a while. But for the last 17 years, he has been with the venture fund and private equity. He has been part of many funds. He has done that whole heavy lifting of right from due diligence, managing founders, getting exits, which, as you know, is always the biggest challenge. So I think between Vinayak and Shefali, we have a really wonderful team at Hearth Ventures. And I'm also delighted to have a very supportive and advisory board. So both Yogesh and his father, Nand Kishorji, they are on advisory board. I think that's really important because, as I said, they're entrepreneurs. They've gone through those pains. They've gone through that whole journey, right? And they'll have a lot of insights to share with our companies. We also have over there Pawan Kaushal. He's in the room. And Pawan is a thoroughbred finance professional. Risk management is his specialty. And so I'm, he's the person who asks very hard questions at the investment committee and, of course, as part of our board. We also have Mahesh Yagnaraman. He's the country director of Acumen. Acumen has been I would say, the pioneer in social investing across the world. We have 3 professors from INSEAD who are part of our advisory board. And we onboarded them because we think that there's a lot of research, a lot of outreach that needs to be done in global markets. There's a lot for us to learn from other countries, right? I mean, remember that 1.6% market share? So somebody has 99.4%, right? So there's a lot of learning to be had, right, which we can bring to our investors. So it's been hugely, I would say, I don't know, I can't find the right words, but a hugely exciting journey so far. It's actually given us a lot of conviction. And what I want to say is, why bother? Okay? We all, as investors, have so many options, right? At my age, there's so many demands on my time, so why bother? Okay? And I think it really comes from this that our country has enormous potential, enormous opportunity. At the same time, it has to be an inclusive growth. Otherwise, we are not creating a world that our founding fathers dreamt of, right? And this sector, the 3C sector, is a sector that I think has a lot of opportunity and a lot of social impact just by working in this sector. And I also want to say we all take pride in our culture, in our traditions, in the soft power that India projects to the world. So again, this makes this whole effort really something that gives satisfaction beyond just sort of working with investors and sort of returning their money and giving them good returns. So I hope you'll join me in this journey. I'm now going to ask the founders of Shobhitam to come and tell their story. We were the first investor in Shobhitam. In fact, that was our first investment. Okay? And there were 2 amazing ladies based in Seattle, techies, who wanted to pursue their passion. And we saw something really outstanding in them and what they wanted to do. And the rest of it I'm going to hand over to Aparna and to Raghu. Raghu is Aparna's husband. And he is, of course, a techie like me, with Microsoft, very big job. And he has actually joined the business. So I don't need to say any more. Okay. All right. Over to Aparna and Raghu.